Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're here live at Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and I am Dr. Patience Jackson Rose, and we are going to actually go on a journey today talking about scalability, which is what we believe the fastest path to cash in your business. And so we want to just give you the view that we now have based on some training and some experience and some observations, some research to learn how you can take your business from a fledgling entity just getting started and, look at it from the necessary angles so that you can figure out what is the best path for you to become scalable, and then use that method for making your business the most profitable company that it possibly can be, the most valuable company that it possibly can be. So with that said, I want us to take a look at my video and learn a little bit about what scalability is, and then we'll be right back and we'll talk about it in a way that hopefully you'll be able to take some tools and put them into play right away so that you can help to make your company not just stable, but sustainable and scalable.
Have you heard of scalability in business? It's considered the fastest path to cash.
Yes, I have. Scalability is the ability to grow your business without increasing costs at the same rate.
That's right. And it's essential for businesses to identify and scale up the products and services that can help them grow while minimizing their dependence on the business owner.
Scalability can lead to faster profits and help businesses achieve long-term success.
Exactly. Did you know that companies that focus on scalability are more likely to attract investors and secure funding?
I did not know that. Do you have a source for that information?
Yes, according to a study by the Kauffman Foundation, companies that prioritize scalability are more likely to attract venture capital funding.
That's interesting. Can you give me an example of a business that has successfully scaled up their products or services?
Sure. Amazon is a great example of a company that has scaled up their offerings to include everything from books to groceries and beyond.
That's impressive. It's clear that scalability is an important concept for businesses to understand and implement.
So as my little cartoon agents have shared, scalability is very, very important. And as we are learning today, how do we become the proprietors or owners or managers or executives of a company that has a higher scalability score? That's going to be what we are traversing today. How do we get there? So let's look at the slides. Let's look at and see what it is that, we'll be, really diving into today. So here we're going to be talking really about how to scale the business effectively. There are a lot of people that, have a real challenge with scaling. Some people scale too fast and some people scale too slow. And then there are people who don't scale at all. They just have a flat line. Their business does this consistently the same amount of revenue every year, and it's the same profit year over year. However, the one thing that we have to note is that every year things are getting more expensive. So if you are the company that has the same profit year over year, thank God you still have profit. However, the profit shrinks. So it really is not the same every year. What's happening is that it's shrinking over time because of the fact that the prices of different things are getting higher. The ability for you to provide the service is getting more expensive. And so we want to be looking at how do we scale our business in such a way that while, things are getting more expensive, we're able to continue to grow our top line revenue and, our bottom line revenue at, the same rate, or for that matter, our bottom line is getting the trajectory for the bottom line is growing a lot more than, the top line. And so what happens there is that means that it's costing us, less money to do the same service over time. And so we're going to focus on identifying some scalable products and services so we can transition our companies into this place where we have what's called a scalable model. And then we're going to look at how we can increase our company's value. Next slide, please. So I really want to talk about this one concept that, a lot of us seem to keep tripping over, okay? And it's called the owner's trap. And what the owner's trap is really when the company is dependent on you. You are everything, okay? And when there's dependence, the business relies heavily on you, limiting its growth and sellability. And really, when the company is not positioned well because of the fact that everything is in your head and you are the person that is the end all and be all, then it's very difficult for you to get the price point that you want in a sale. The other thing is that freedom is at risk because when the business is not able to thrive without you, then you are absolutely not free. You want to create a business that thrives without the constant owner involvement, where the business itself does do well, with you, but it also does equally as well or even better without you because you have delegated authority. You've put things in place so that the business can, do what it needs to do. Even having better technology, and things of that nature that will help you in your company so that you are able to break free of this owner's trap. Then the other thing is that when you are able to scale up, it allows for the increased business value and potential because when your company can scale, at the right rate, you're not growing too fast where you can't properly serve people and fulfill, your clients' needs or requirements. You are able to increase the business value and that positions you so you can get the 3x in the sale, to make 3 times the, what your company's worth or 5 times what it's worth, or in some cases, 10 times what it's worth. And we've seen that before in other companies who have taken the time to make sure they have these 3 things in check: dependence and freedoms and growth. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about Alex Stapleton. Alex Stapleton is a character in a book that a friend of mine, who's also my mentor, John Warrilow, wrote. And the book is called Built to Sell. And in that book, Built to Sell, Alex Stapleton is a graphic designer. And so he was, his initial state, he was personally involved in serving each customer, creating a cycle of dependence. He had some great customers. He actually had a bank as one of his customers, which was a really, good customer. And he had a few other customers, but the bank itself was his primary customer. And he was positioned in a position that with that bank as his primary customer and the amount that they were paying for the services that his company was providing to them, if the bank went away, then Alex would be in a situation where his company would survive, but it would be difficult. And because the company that bank was the company that was providing most of Alex's company's revenues. Okay. And the other thing is that, as far as the transition that he went through, he was able to follow a structured process that we know to be called the Value Builder Engagement Program. And he isolated his scalable services and removed himself from daily operations. And when he did that, his results were the business became more valuable and sellable with reduced owner dependence. Next slide, please. So let's kind of identify some scalable products and services. And so the one thing that I'll tell you is that you got to be able to have a high TVR score, that you have things in the place where all of your, major products and services that are really the crux of what brings the revenues in and keeps the revenues in at your company are teachable, valuable, and repeatable. So let's talk about that. Teachable. Can the process be easily taught to employees or delivered through technology? That is really, really important. When you are solopreneur and it's like you're, the only one working in your business, or maybe you're working with some contractors, or you're working with part-time people in the company, you need to make sure that your processes that you have for doing business are easily taught, and they're easily delivered, through some kind of technological means if you don't have employees or you don't have contractors. There have been times where I've run companies, and even one of the companies that I run right now heavily depends on technology. So that, what happens is that we're still doing business, as if we had, a staff of maybe 3 to 5 people, but the technology works in such a way that it does some of the work that human beings was doing, and then I can actually use human beings to do the work that only human beings can do. And that's really important to note, that there are some tasks that computers and software and other types of technology cannot do, and so for that reason, you want to let the technology do what it can do, so that you have the freedom for the people to do the work that only people can do. Then the other thing is the product or service valuable to customers, avoiding commoditization. It's really important to understand that you've got to have products and services that create value, okay, that are valuable to the people who are purchasing it. And yours needs to be valuable in such a way that it's a cut above whatever else is out there. What does that mean? Well, they could mean maybe that it's less expensive than, the sum of what is out there in the marketplace. Or maybe it's a better grade, maybe it's more unique. There's something about it that creates a value that makes a customer choose you over all the other companies that are similar to yours that might be out in the marketplace. And then, is it repeatable? Do customers need to buy the product or service over and over again? That's going to be really key, because when you have to find a new customer every day, then that means that now your services are reoccurring most of the time, if not just one-offs, that we call one-offs, those services that people buy one time and they never have to get it again in life. And that's not really the best possible scenario. So you want to make sure that you are able to create a service or a product that people need over and over again, and that they now, because of the way that you provide the service, it's valuable to them. So they want to come to you to get it, as opposed to getting it from someone else. Next slide, please. Okay, so we want to kind of do a TVR score assessment. And for those of you who are interested in having, like, there's an ebook that goes along with this particular presentation, I'd love for you to have it. We're going to be putting that ebook on our website, redworldwide.org, and that should go up tomorrow. So please go to the website tomorrow and you can download the ebook and learn more about this, what we're talking about. But you want to be able to understand how this TVR score works. So if you were plotting this on, some sort of a diagram on a piece of paper, you would plot your products on the diagram with teachable and valuable axis. Okay, so teachable would be going one way, maybe it's vertical, and valuable would go the other direction. And then you're going to identify which products that you already have that are highly valued by your customers. How do you know? Well, what do they purchase all the time? Okay, what do they make sure that they come and get more frequently? Okay, what are they ordering on? And a regular basis? Do you have anything that's on auto ship? Okay. Is there something that you have that's on a subscription? And are people buying the subscription? Okay. And repeatable. Determine which products customers will need to repurchase regularly. In other words, how, are they replenishing, okay, their supply of whatever that is that you have. You've got to make sure that amongst all the things that you're doing, you have something that they come back to you for all the time. Now, in our case, we talk about what we do here at Red Worldwide. We give you lots of examples, and we use ourselves as a case study all the time. So we have what we call membership. Our membership is our repeatable product. People purchase it every year. For the first time in 6 years, now this is year 7. In year 7, we actually went up on our membership fee by $5. It was $140 a year, for all of the years previous. And then this year we added $5, to our membership fee. So now it's $145. And we made it a value added service. I mean, it is chock full of value. We've added so many things to that membership that people tell me, oh, no, I've got to make sure that my membership fee is paid, because I need to make sure if I need to have a contract reviewed, I can come and get it reviewed, or I need to be able to, get an LLC done for free this year, or I need to have, a nonprofit paperwork prepared. I mean, all of those things are free services for members. And so because people know that they can get their trust reviewed for free because they're members, they can take advantage of some free courses that we have. And we actually gave out even our app to members, and we allowed them to, send it to their friends. Okay. Which the 5-Minute Finance app that actually launched a couple of weeks ago, that was something that was a real big deal for a lot of people. We had been working on it for quite a while, and we finished it, and we gave it away to all the members, and it'll be coming out in an email for those of you that did not get it yet, but a lot of people got it in a text message that requested it. But we, sent it out, and because of the fact that people wanted to share that with their family and friends, we allowed that. For people who are part of the business exchange, some of them were able to purchase tickets to Disneyland and Disney World this summer, and they were able to get flights at lesser expensive costs. They were able to take advantage of eating out, and get the children were able to eat for free. I mean, there were so many things that were in there because members have, access to these types of things that, others who are not members do not. And so we took the time to have these valuable added services. There were, our First Thursday courses that members get for free. They can come and take those courses. We have, other types of webinars that we do, and other people pay $49 to come. Members get to come for free. We're getting ready to do our third quarter summit. Third quarter summit is going to be $199 to people who are not members. But if you're a member, you get to come to the summit for free this time. So we try to have these types of perks because those value added services are things that people, it makes people want to make sure that they keep their membership paid. So what does that mean for us? Well, of course, we want to continue to add more members, but we do have a record amount of people that are paying their membership fee every month, and those fees add up over time. So you want to have something that's teachable, valuable, and repeatable. And when you are able to have that, then it does really increase the value of your company. Next slide, please. All right, so how do you transition to a scalable model? Well, the first thing is you got to be able to isolate scalable products and services. You got to know what your scalable product and services are. Focus on what meets the teachable, valuable, and repeatable criteria. You look through everything that you're offering. If you have rental properties, you need to be looking at the rental properties you have, and you need to be seeing how you are providing the service. Is this going to be a short-term rental situation, or is this a corporate rental, scenario? And based on, what is more valuable and what is a repeatable, or I should say a recurring revenue as opposed to a reoccurring revenue, you get to make a decision about, whether you're going to keep it in the format that you have or transition it to a format that makes more sense. So I have some clients that are doing short-term rentals, and they've been doing Airbnb for quite a while. And we decided that we would take a look at what was the best match for how they needed to receive revenue. Some people are totally fine receiving the revenue however it comes with Airbnb, but then there are other people who really are using this as a way to, feed and shelter their family, and they need to make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck. So with that in mind, they are weighing in, with all of the research and everything else they're doing, they're looking at other options for their properties. Depending on where the property is located, it could be a good option for you to transition a short-term rental into a corporate rental. It's still short-term, but it's not the shortest term, which is the nightly rentals. It may be a scenario where a corporation will book a long-term contract with your property. They're paying you for the whole year at a rate that's 3 times as much that you would make, if you were doing a traditional rental, and it may be twice as much as you are making with Airbnb, but it keeps it rented in such a way because of the higher tier contract that it's an automatic customer. This is the highest tier of, repeatable processes. So you want to be thinking about, okay, is that the best solution? Well, depending on where it's located, it might be the best solution for a property or two. And you might look at the location of the other properties and say, you know what, my other short-term properties are probably going to be good where they are and how they are being utilized, and so we probably want to move in that direction accordingly. And so it's kind of a situation where you have to do a case-by-case process to see what's going to be best for you. But it really does become a matter of doing the research and making the decision to see how or what's best with the products and the services that you have, to make sure that it's a teachable, process, that it's a valuable process to your customer, and that it is repeatable, where people are constantly coming back to get that service or that particular product. Okay. Now, documenting your process. Well, it's really important for you to create detailed instructions, because you are leaving these standard operating procedures and templates, for people who are going to be doing this and, for the long haul. You're not going to be running your company by yourself forever. You're not going to be the person who's continuously doing certain parts of the process over time. You want to be able to hand that off to someone, delegate that authority. And when you sell it, you want to be able to make sure that it's easy for the purchaser to understand how it works and that they can take it and do it without you. So with that said, it makes your company more valuable when you have documented processes. And if you can document them in the highest, most efficient manner, and the quality is excellent, if it's in an administrative manual or on a software or in an app, or video recorded is even better. Those are highly valuable process. Or I should say standard operating procedures or processes that are documented. And when you are able to do that, then you get a higher offering, usually when you go to sell your company, or for that matter, you have more success when you pass it down to your next level of managers or to your kids, if you're passing it to your kids. Okay, then you need to be able to name the offerings. Give your product or service a unique name and to differentiate it from other services that are out there. I talk to people about this kind of stuff all the time, and naming is a huge nomenclature. It's huge when you're able to say that you have a Big Mac and somebody else is saying that they just have the number two hamburger, people resonate with the brand, and they begin to really buy into this whole concept of it being a Big Mac, And so you want to make sure that you take the time to, look at how you can brand your offerings and what it is that you can do to make it so that people are interested. I was so blessed to be able to stay at an Airbnb in Florida, and I know Crystal's on the line right now. She and a few people are in the our studio audience. And one of the things that I was blessed by is the branding that they had in their Airbnb. It was so beautiful. The way that it was decorated and how every room had kind of a theme, and there were these signs that, kind of supported the theme. And I mean, I was just all excited about, the brand. Okay. And it was such a welcoming place to be. Everything supported the brand. It was really the nicest Airbnb that I have ever stayed in. And I've stayed in a few. And so I want to share that it's really important that you take the time to name the offering, do the things necessary to make it what it is. Now, maybe you don't have rental properties. Maybe you're doing something completely different. We were with a client today over here in Northern California, and he was sharing about how he was so pleased. He said, "You guys have exceeded our expectations." He said, especially with you helping us with naming our offerings, naming everything that we have, our trusts, our companies. They have several companies, and we've participated in naming these companies and helping them to create a brand for each one. And so these are really important things. When you look at the statistics in marketing and in sales, you find that people who have taken the time to brand their company's products and services, and to have it so that the brand is contiguous, there's a continuity, it's all matching, and it supports each other. It does really resonate with the customers. They participate in it. Some people go back and buy. One of my daughters, she has a brand, London Couture, and within her brand, she sells journals, and those journals some of them are available, online at Amazon and other places. And what the interesting thing is that the branding, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And she's taken the time to, make sure that the way that it's done, people get into, well, she's releasing a new one. Oh, I got to get the blue one, or oh, I got to get the black one, because it has such an effect on them that they feel like when they're using the Black journal and they're talking about their goals and aspirations and writing it down in this journal, it assists them and helps them to become more successful at what they're doing. And, I just, I can't say it enough that you need to take the time to name your offering. Okay. The last thing is here, you've got to be able to communicate value, update communications to highlight the benefits of whatever your scalable offer is. If you're adding something new to it, send something out in an email. We try to send out emails once a week. We send out emails more than once a week, but we send out our newsletter once a week. We're getting ready to start a new newsletter as well, for people who are participating in both of our companies. They'll get now the one newsletter, which is they're getting, through Red Worldwide, and then they'll get the other one through Precision Advisor Group, because we want them to have as much information as we can provide them about the different things that are available to them, in the industry, and things that they can take advantage of that makes their companies more successful, more profitable, and so we've got to be able to highlight the benefits of the scalable offering. We take the time that in some of those emails that we send out, we let them know some new things that we're doing, or new things that are coming. So they'll be looking for it and waiting for it. And it's like, sitting with bated breath almost. Most of the people that knew that the 5-Minute Finance app was coming, they weren't trying to ask me about it every day, but every now and then, hey, how's the app going? When are we going to get it in our hands? You need a tester? And it was quite interesting to see how when they did get it, I had someone that made a donation, right away, because she was so excited about, getting, what it was that she felt like was going to give her the ability to do better work, and to learn more about, finances and how she could protect her assets. And so it was really a wonderful opportunity. And then, when you are letting people know, they let other people know. Okay. Just saying, when you tell people about what you're doing, those people tell people, and especially if it's something that they found very powerful and positive. All right. Next slide, please. All right. So when we're in the mode of increasing the company's value, you really want to be able to focus on products and services that generate recurring revenue. I know that you're going to have more than, you'll probably have several other services and products that you have that are one-offs, that people just buy it the one time. But I want you to spend time cultivating and really making the recurring revenue offerings just over and above whatever else is out there on the market. And there's a reason for this. I'll give you an example of how, this has played out again in, either the company that we worked with or a company that we are, currently running. When we began the company, I was already preparing documents. I did a lot of document preparation in our previous company. And people would always come to us and they would tell their friends to come to us if they needed any kind of documents prepared. And that would be any LLC, any entities that they needed formed. Whenever someone needed a living trust or some other type of trust, they, would send their friends to us. Their family members would come to us, whenever something was needed in that realm. However, when we created the recurring revenue operating in the way that instead of offering people, because we already had some recurring revenue. Let me just say this. We didn't know what we were doing. Okay. We didn't realize the value of it. At least I didn't. My husband, I think, did. I think he got it before I got it. Because what he did is that he invested in creating the ability for people to use us to host their websites and to use us to purchase their domains. Now, I had that same service as well because I was a reseller, just like he was a reseller when we met. We both were in the same industry and, in that one area, and we merged our companies together. But even with me being in the industry, I didn't get it. I did not get it until one day he said, "You know what? Did you check our account today to see, we received our, monthly revenues, for hosting?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't see it." And so, and I went and looked and I was like, wow, that comes every month, no matter what happens. And it wasn't that it was a lot of money. It was consistent, recurring revenue. So in that case, when we opened the new company and sold all of what was in the old company to the new company, all the processes and services, product offerings and things to the new company, it was quite interesting to us that it was regular recurring revenue. It continued. We didn't lose any customers. When people buy domains, they renew those domains. They don't want those domains to go away, even if the company is not even functioning in that capacity, because they do understand that having a catalog of domains could be of value. If somebody wants to buy that domain from you, even if you're not using it and it is an empty domain, in other words, it's not connected to a company at all or a website, if they need it, they will pay. And so it's interesting to me how, it took for us to start doing something different where people had membership fees for me to really get it, that, these recurring revenues are something that is very important to a company. I talk a lot about the concept of when, the alarm system came along and how people used to buy the alarms initially, and they would buy the alarms and that was all they had was the alarm, because initially the alarm was not connected to a service. It wasn't like the alarm was connected to the fire department or the alarm was connected to the police department. Initially when people bought alarms, it was just a deterrent. It wasn't like, somebody showed up. And then at some point, there should, I don't know, the exact date or time because I haven't done that research, but the alarm companies realized that monitoring was really the ticket. The alarm wasn't the ticket. So they started giving the alarms away for free with paid monitoring. And when you paid your $19.99, I think it's what it was $14.99. I think when we first started having, alarms on our houses, you pay the $14.99. That tells you how long ago that was, because there's nowhere near that now. But, and they would put the alarm up. They would put the contact, alarm on the windows, and the door would beep, when it would open, and beep when it would close, and you would know if somebody tried to get in the house, or if they broke a window or anything like that, the alarm would go off. And if something didn't happen for someone to, go into the alarm system and push a certain code in there, in a few minutes, you'd have somebody knocking on your door from the security company who was doing the monitoring. And at one point in time, we had the type of alarm where it would actually send a message to the police department. I know Javon is on here with me, and she can probably remember back that far how, our alarms actually went to the police department at one point in time because of where we live. It was an area that was, underdeveloped enough to where, they didn't have like security companies in abundance over there. So the police department would show up, and if there was a fire, the fire alarm, if it went off and, no one, pushed the code in there, then it came the fire department, so yeah. And if it was a false alarm, we had to pay a fee, now imagine, what that did for the alarm companies, because whereas before they may have been getting $99 just for the alarm itself, now they didn't get any money on the front end because the alarm was, given away, or the cost was buried into the price of the monitoring, but they had a monthly amount that they could count on, recurring revenue every month. And most of the time that contract was an annual contract. So even if you canceled your contract in the middle of the year, you had to pay a cancellation fee. Okay. And so now it was worth it for you to stick with that same alarm company, because they would sometimes, if it was close enough, they would allow you to continue with them, and they would just move the alarm equipment from one place to another. And that gives you the ability to stay with them. So they still had their recurring revenue. That also gave you the ability to, continue to have, the peace of mind that this company that had been making sure that your house was protected or your business was protected all this time would continue to do that. So when you have the ability to generate recurring revenue, it significantly increases your company's value and attractiveness to potential buyers and to those who maybe you're trying to get a loan and the bank wants to see what your company is worth. Well, I can guarantee you, when you have things in place that have recurring revenue opportunities, it makes your company worth more, and you have a better positioning, when you're trying to get the funds, in a bank loan, or if you're trying to attract people to come on as partners. Next slide, please. So what are some of the forms of recurring revenue? Well, we've done some really deep dives on automatic customers and recurring revenue, but I just felt like it was really worth it today for me to do a reminder. Okay, so let's look at some of these consumables. Some of these recurring revenue models, but consumables is the first one. It's the least valuable disposable items with no strong brand loyalty. However, people, buy them, and they might even have them on auto ship, that they come. To give you an example, I at one point had toilet paper and paper towels on lock, as the kids would say. I mean, every 2 months, through, at that time I was getting it through Amway because I was an Amway distributor. And so we were buying from ourselves, and we bought cases of paper towels and toilet paper when Amway had these larger cases inside of their, marketplace. When I went to, became connected to Market America, at one point in time in our lives, we were buying other types of consumables through Market America. No strong brand loyalty. It didn't matter to me who was by, as long as it fit the basic requirement of our lives, and we would get it from them every month, without fail. So consumables are the least valuable, but people have to have it. They have to have it. So now we buy our consumables through Amazon. Most people are buying consumables through Amazon, I found, because they are able to go in there and find the brand that they like, generally. And if not, they'll get the Amazon Prime selections, that they recommend, and they get it, every month or every 2 months. They'll have it on, auto renew, and they save a few dollars for the auto renew, but the items are able to come, and they can expect that they're going to be there in a timely fashion. Sunk money consumables, I like these because basically you pay a certain amount of money for the initial investment, and then you have ongoing consumable purchases. So this would be like, the people who are buying those coffee machines or the espresso machine. They pay the $300 for the espresso machine, but that espresso machine has to have a certain type of pod or a certain kind of, espresso mix that comes, in a box. And so they have to order these consumable purchases to go along with the actual initial investment every month, And so I remember when Keurig first came out, before they had replacement pods that you could get from, all the different types of places. Initially, you were stuck buying the Keurig replacement pods, and people really they did it because they wanted to be able to use their Keurig machine. There are lots of other types of, things of this nature. I mean, I remember when diffusers were really, really a hot ticket item. And so people were buying diffusers. Some diffusers were really, nice, made of stone and glass, and others that were made of wood with, carvings and, beautiful, beautiful items. And so people would have to buy the essential oils, to put in the water for the diffuser to work the way it's supposed to, and those are for the type of, the steam the diffusers where you actually, the water kind of heats up and it heats the oil up and then it diffuses into the air. There are other types of diffusers, where there may be just oil that you put in a certain type of vase, and they have little sticks, and the sticks, actually suck up the water, and it, diffuses into the air. There's other kinds of things that are similar, but these are all sunk money consumptions. The next one is renewable subscriptions. This is probably the oldest memory that I have, which were magazines. Okay. People used to buy paper magazines. I know for some of you guys who are Gen Xers and millennials, you might not remember this as much, but I mean, we had Ebony and Jet and People magazine, and had the physical magazine, Forbes magazine, Money magazine, CNN Money. There was Fortune magazine. I'm dating myself because these are some of the ones that I can remember, but there were the Vogue magazine, some of the ones that were just really precious to me at the time, were just, magazines that, were in my history. Those are magazines that my parents purchased, and I started seeing the value when I started reading them as well. And so it's like, ooh, I can't wait till some of them were quarterly, some of them were monthly, and then there were some that were an annual magazine that came out, and so, I mean, looking at these renewable subscriptions. Those were, something was very powerful. Our renewable subscription is a very similar kind of subscription where people, get it every year. Then there's the sunk money renewable subscription like Bloomberg, where there's an initial investment and then you just pay, for ongoing subscriptions. There are tons of these kinds of subscriptions that are out there where you buy, you put a lot of money up front and then you pay for over time every month, and it just continues to be a renewed situation. Then there's auto renewed subscriptions. These are, and I know that you're looking at it from the top down, but really the more, the further down you go, the more valuable the actual form of recurring revenue becomes. And so the auto renewed subscriptions are automatic billing until cancellation. That's, you just have everything on auto renew, and until you decide you don't want it, like domains, those are auto renewed subscription. It's a higher form on the tier, okay, of a recurring revenue, because people, they need these domains. They need to stay, where people can find them. It's their address on the internet. So they're not going to get rid of their address. They're going to continue to pay for that every year at $23.99 or $16.99, or depending on where they purchase their domain and the type of domain they purchase, they're going to continue to pay that amount. Some people pay 5 years at a time and other people pay 2 years at a time. But, generally that is considered a higher tier form because it is on auto renew until a person makes a decision to cancel. So they got to opt out. Then the last one is a higher tier contract. It's the most valuable fixed term agreement. And so I like it because no matter what, if the person gets into an annual agreement with you or a 5-year agreement with you, generally they're going to want to, revisit that contract. And if you have continued to do the work with them that they consider valuable and they don't want to lose that option, then what they will do is they will re-up on the contract. And so let me give you an example of what that could look like. Government contracting is one of the hottest forms and the most valuable tiers of recurring revenue, because generally, which we've done some, contracting ourselves. We've worked with companies that have done contracting. And let me just say this, generally, unless something happens where the contract has to end early, which can happen, I don't want you to think that it's not possible for the contract to end early, because it is. Then usually there's a clause that says that, if these particular things occur, then it's possible that the contract could, end in or could end early. So here, the most valuable fixed term agreement that you can have is a contract. And when you have a, annual or triannual or, something that is a contract that may be over, 2 to 5 years, it is really something that you can count on. It helps to make your revenue, or I should say, your receivables, something that could be utilized to even get financing. Because when a bank looks and sees that you have several contracts that are 5-year term, 2-year term, 3-year term contracts with people, who they may be individuals or they may be companies, sometimes they will give you your funding based on the contracts that you have available. So there's something to be thinking about, when you're looking at, the forms of recurring revenue. How can you transition something that you have to one of these forms of recurring revenue? Because when you do, this is the fastest path to cash. I am telling you, you can walk into some place and walk out with a contract, and maybe it takes them 30 days to do the purchase order and another 2 weeks to get you the actual check. But that contract generally is money that you can count on. Based on the contract, even if the company goes under, there are certain clauses that will give you the ability to get protection and insurance based on that contract that if it doesn't pay out, you will cash in on the insurance policy and still get the money that you were promised. And so these are things to be thinking about. How do you make your company more scalable and how do you make it more valuable? Well, utilizing recurring revenue is one of the ways. Next slide, please. So implementing recurring revenue. Well, there are, transition services, okay? You can move from one-off services to subscription models or contracts. And so you have to decide how you're going to transition these services or these products that you have, from a one-time purchase to, a subscription model, and or a contract model so that you can create a more valuable company and more recurring revenue. If without having financial performance that is supported by some sort of a recurring revenue, your company is just not going to be nearly as valuable. Then you can stabilize your cash flow, ensure that the consistent income through recurring revenue streams is there. Okay. When you are able to have multiple ways of receiving these recurring revenue streams, sometimes it's through the subscription month to month and other things in your company may be annual, then it does really create a stabilized cash flow and it makes it so that the company is able to give you back what you have put into it. You need to have this as a process because it does increase your attractiveness to a potential buyer, somebody that wants to purchase your company, or even to the kids that you want to pass it down to. When they know there's recurring revenue built into the company, then they see it as more of a possibility for them. You got to make your business more appealing to potential buyers, or even if you're passing it down to the next level of managers, you want to make it so that they want to have the company. And so when they can see that there is cash potential there, that there's a growth, potential that makes sense, then it makes something that is really interesting and fun, and to them, something that's worth having. Next slide, please. So what are your next steps? Well, the first thing is you got to take action. You need to start implementing scalable strategies in your business today. Sit down and write down the services and the products that you offer. Then once you get those services and products that you offer, I want you to circle the ones that can be transitioned from one-offs to recurring revenue in some way. Is this something that you can be given in a surprise box? If you're selling beauty products, can you, take some of the inventory that you have that may be expiring within the next year and put it in a surprise box, and instead of you throwing it away and writing it off, you can actually, sell it as a surprise box. One of the companies that, markets clothing that I like, they actually have this surprise box and you don't have any idea what's in it. They just tell you that it's going to be, 5 items and you get 5 items for $43, or you get, 10 items for $76. Okay. Or you can get the $199 box. Okay. Which in that box, you get 20 items. Okay. And so, you have no idea what's in there, but you know that you're getting something. Well, what they do is they're older, garments that, are, that maybe they didn't sell, or for whatever reason, they just had a lot, of those that they had designed and manufactured, and now they're moving into a totally different line, and they need to get rid of them. And so they put all of those things together and they sell them off to people as the surprise box. And so, that's one of the ways that it can be done, but there are others. You need to sit down and spend some time with your business to see what, things are there, and you just need to start implementing, okay, those scalable strategies in your company, today. Okay. And then subscribe, follow our podcast because we're going to constantly be giving you insights on smarter business growth. We are bringing this to you every single day. And if you can't watch it at the time when it actually airs, go back to YouTube or go to our website and go down to the middle of the website and you'll be able to gain access to it there. But if you go to YouTube, you can always find it in Co-working Live. I mean, by just looking us up, Red Worldwide, go to our channel. And when you go to our channel, you'll see we have a couple of podcasts out there and you can grab this one and watch it again and see what's there and find out, how to make some of these things work. I mean, I really did a very big deep dive on productizing your services. How do you create, buckets of services or packages that you can sell? And so that kind of fits right along the side of what we've been talking about today, because you want to make sure that you are, taking advantage of the best ways, to do this. And of course, you can visit our website and you can find more resources there. Right now, there are 3 ebooks that are there that are going away tomorrow because we're going to put 3 new ones there. So if you want to make sure that you get those ebooks, go to redworldwide.org. And when you do, you'll be able to scroll down and see where you can get our newsletter for free. Some people charge for their newsletter. We don't charge. We give it away. So please go and get access to our complimentary newsletter and make sure that you're getting that every week, because sometimes there's an actual, article, which I think one went out today. And then other times there are videos, that are a part of the podcast, the Built to Sell podcast. And so, you want to take advantage of what it is that we have available, for you, because it is for everyone, but people, especially who are members, there are other perks and things that are there as well. You can log in with your username and password and gain access to the community. You can get into the business exchange and take advantage of some of the things we have there. And if you're unsure, about what's available, then you can always send an email to our concierge at wearered.world, or send an email to Kevin at wearered.world. He's our membership coordinator, and he makes sure that people get what it is that they're supposed to get with their membership. Well, this has been Dr. Patience Jackson Rose with Red Worldwide, our Co-working Live, and we have been so excited that you've been here with us this whole time. And we want to make sure that you join us again on tomorrow, because we have a very special broadcast just for you, and we'll see you again next time.